The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
I am quite well. I got my coffee.
I'm back to coffee.
Okay, good.
I'm with the tea.
I was wondering, I was waiting with bated breath.
Ooh.
Bated coffee breath.
If I'm drinking coffee, it means I'm better. But usually a lot of times when I'm sick, I will drink coffee. But not that time, not with congestion. So, so happy.
I know, I'm very, very, very glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you. Well, the other thing is, we've got a very exciting episode here today because we've just finished up the trilogy of episodes 62 to 64 of Lou and the Merchant Marine. Hey, everybody, if you missed those episodes, those are very special, all featuring Lou's letters from his travels in the Merchant Marine in the summer of 1949. But Jamie, right at the end of that final part of the trilogy, we finally heard again from the star herself. And it sounds like she's getting ready to leave Iowa and return to the East Coast. It's time.
Which is so crazy because she fought going out to the East Coast.
The first time,
the first time. And then she desperately wanted to get back to Iowa and tried to make it work.
Yep.
And that didn't happen. So now it's like she knows this is her path.
Yeah.
She has to be out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that's where, and the tone of the letters today, we were talking about when she went out to the East Coast the first time, it was just sad,
right,
and desperate, and it was done in spite, and that was actually very, very good. Those were very good episodes. I recommend going back to those. But this time it feels more like she's like, oh, I'm going back.
She's accepted.
She's accepted. She's like, and she's not only accepted, she's like really in it. She says, we're looking for a house. We're going to do these things. Am I giving away too much?
No, you're fine. I think the main thing here is because we know if they go back, they need to find a home. They're no longer in Norwood. And we know also she does not want to live with Sydney. So these two things lead to the inevitable conclusion that we got to get out of Collingdale again. So we have a little bit of a repetition there from the beginning of the season. But I like what you said about, the first time this didn't quite work. That was in 46. And then, so that starts at episode 44 for anybody listening. That's the beginning of season 2. And then this huge tragedy happens too, which just compounds it and makes it absolutely depressing and miserable for her. But there's also this idea of the hero's journey. And, it's amazing to me at a really high level, if I step back from the whole story, how much Sweetie's story is the classic story of the protagonist, of the hero here. And she's always the hero of the tale. But in classic hero's journey, and if there's some people that understand Joseph Campbell who are listening, they're like, yes, that's absolutely it. The first part is usually the hero is in denial about the path they have to take. And they go back only to ultimately then go forward. It's a classic tale. Campbell, the great mythographer, said that stories in all of human history are just told over and over again in different ways. Hero's journey is one of them. The greatest example of Campbell, and Campbell said his best student was George Lucas. So if you know the original Star Wars film, A New Hope, it's a perfect hero's journey. And I'm just going to Star Wars dork out here for a moment. Luke, right, goes, spoiler alert for if you haven't seen a 77 movie, get on that. But Luke gets the message that he has to go off and save the princess. but he says no at first, right? And he goes back to his farm, and then he's basically forced to go back and take the path he's supposed to take. So that's a great example, and a very simple example, and very relatable for a lot of people because they've seen that film. But we've got Sweetie now. I don't think she ever thought she'd be compared to Star Wars, but we've got Sweetie now having the calling. They get a calling to go. She has to go. She doesn't want to be there, and she returns, and she realizes she has to go again. And it's that movement on her hero's journey. And so I love to see that. We're going to get the realization of that today as we're going to leave Iowa. She's been in Iowa for a long time.
A very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since last year. So she's been there over a year.
Yeah, just about a year.
Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
Summer 48 to summer 49. She's had a year. My dad said this is the beginning of like his real memory as a child, because he was old enough to like really remember things. He's over 3 years old, and when he leaves, he's almost 4. Right, so he's getting those childhood memories, which is great that he has that, because had she done it when he was like 1 or 2, he might not remember that time in Iowa. But it's time to leave, basically. It's time to leave again. Like, time to go back.
Yes.
Collingdale, yeah. So
we do have 7 letters today.
We do. Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy because we did get to sit with Lou for a while and hear his perspective as he was in the Merchant Marines. So we are starting with our first letter, and this is nice because we get to hear from Andrew again. This is our first letter from Lou.
Saturday afternoon, May 14, 1949. My darling Mama, I had hoped that there would be some mail here when I got back to the ship, but there wasn't. I did receive the letter with the check, which you probably know about by now. Did I tell you that the $2.50 was for shoe leather, gas, wear and tear on the car, and what else have you? I thought that it would be easier to send $95 instead of $97.50, and besides, I could use $2.50. Maybe I'll buy you something in Port de la Cruz with it. If I do, I think the hint will be, it's not a bedspread. How many on one hand? Let's see you figure that out. But don't count on it. I might not even go ashore. It depends on what time we get back here and how long we'll have. It's pretty hard to get to town and harder to get back unless you take a taxi and a beating. So as I say, don't depend on it, but let's see how good you are anyway. As I told you, Mom had called Dr. Lone, and it's still the same story. I'm praying extra hard this trip. I feel quite sure that this will be our month, but just the same, I am praying just a little harder. You know how my hunches are. Dit, a girl, etc., etc. I wonder if the absentees of mail means that you are sick again. I sure hope not. I know how you feel when you catch a cold, so I hope that's not the trouble. Do take good care of yourself, honey. We are getting close to the end of the line to let anything happen to you now. Again, I would like to say, please take the train. Well, I guess that's all for now, my love. With no mail to answer, I'm afraid I'm a pretty poor correspondent. I am despondent, though. Things are just about the same here. We are due back on the 24th, and by that time we will have had our house for 4 days, I hope. I love you with all my heart, and always will. Love, Daddy Lou.
Daddy Lou.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh. So we first have to address. He says, you know how my hunches are. Dit, a girl, etc., etc.
Jamie, what could this mean?
I think this means that Dit is having a baby.
Dit's pregnant.
Now, at this time, she's been married they got married in summer of 48, right?
That's right, back in June of 48. Mm-hmm.
So she got pregnant right away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yay! So he thinks Dit's having a girl.
Maybe it's a girl. Yep. So, of course, he's not getting too many updates because he's been on these tankers the whole time. So he's getting scattered messages from home about what's going on. But we've gotten at least this far, with being able to tell. So when Dit is due is a question that still lingers right now in the storyline. But yeah, that's huge news. And then the other thing is, he seems to imply that he's already figured out a residence from the end. He's like, well, we should have our house for 4 days. That's very confident, Lou. Sweetie's not even there yet. So But we'll see. We'll see what's going on with that. Otherwise, for the people that didn't listen to the trilogy, if you heard the name Puerto La Cruz, this is on the northern coast of Venezuela. So that's where the tanker is headed. These are shorter trips that it's taking. He's usually cruising from Texas to Venezuela. So much, much faster than going all the way out to Kuwait across the Atlantic and back. So he just keeps doing this until Sweetie's back, because why not? Otherwise, he's just going to be sitting at home, essentially, and he might as well be making money. But he's not sure if he's going to go get souvenirs. And if you want to know more about that, I suggest listening to the Merchant Marine episode 64, because that really has to do with what the scene is in South America with the tankers going. So I'll put that link in the description for people to listen to that. But we should continue the storyline, Jamie, and
oh yeah, definitely
find out more if there's more information here from Lou about it and the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Dear Kay, arrived here midnight Monday, leaving 4 p.m. today for Port Arthur. Arriving back in Philly on 7th or 8th. No mail here. Hope to see some in Port Arthur. Love, Lou.
It's fun when he calls her Kay.
Yeah, it's rare.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, this was a postcard, so postcards typically will be anything shorter. I notice that when I read the postcards, they're, love Lou, like very small. But we know that he should be in Philadelphia in July.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he should be done then.
June or July, He doesn't specify, but we know it's mid-May, so it has to be one of those.
It's June.
It's June. It's probably June, but yeah.
I know my months.
But the other part there is Port Arthur. That's Texas, for people who are wondering. So that's more furthering the whole Texas South America oil tank route thing that's going on.
And Port Arthur had a U.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how it says?
He's struggling with his spelling on this postcard.
That's okay. That's okay. So, I'm not. Yeah. I pass no judgment. He's a bad speller. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask.
Oh yeah. No, that's totally on Lou. Again, I don't know how he got Czechoslovakia right. But maybe that was a fluke. There was a scene in The Office where there's a quote where, I don't know if you watched The Office. Did you ever watch The Office?
Oh yeah.
Right. So you remember it was in one of the later seasons. The whole crew from The Office goes to play trivia against Oscar's team in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And Kevin is like really good accidentally. And he calls it a fluke, but he's like, the fluke is one of the most like populous fish in the ocean. So if you go fishing for a fluke, you might succeed. So it's one of the greatest quotes that I don't think is quoted too much. But yeah, maybe Czechoslovakia was a fluke. He's pretty good. I think he got Puerto La Cruz right.
But he spelled Port Arthur with a U. Like two of them.
Consistency, Lou. Consistency. So, oh well. Yeah.
I was saying, but this is actually really nice because we are still hearing from Lou.
Yes.
And for our third letter.
We are. Yep. All right. And we'll go into that.
Friday evening, July 8, 1949. My darling Mama, welcome home. Not exactly home either, for I'll not consider you home until you are back in my arms. I've waited so long, and now I have only 6 days to wait. 6 days out of an eternity. It still seems like an eternity. I'm sure our first night together will seem 60 seconds long. The beautiful part of it is, though, that there will be hundreds and thousands of others. Oh, happy day. I love you, dear. I truly do. We are now outside Puerto La Cruz, and it is 10:30 p.m. We will anchor out till morning, then go in to load up. We should leave around 6 or 7 p.m. tomorrow night and arrive in Philly around 4 to 8 p.m. on the 14th. This is just a guess, though, so you'll have to find that out by calling up. I wonder about your trip back. How did Louis make out? Do hope he will be glad to see me, and honey, I pray that you will be too. I'll be glad to see you. I don't really know what I'll do, so don't be too surprised at anything I do. I do love you. I don't believe I'll get a chance to go ashore. I would like to try to get Louis something, though. I really don't have a thing for him that he'd appreciate. Of course, I'd like to get a gallon of Yabu. Think of it, only 6 more days. I'm going to love that gal like she's never been loved before. I really am, honey. All my love and kisses, Daddy Lou.
He's so cute.
He is.
What the heck is Yabu?
I have no idea. I have been looking
Awesome.
up Yabu for a long time. Hey, if somebody online knows what Yabu is, if it's an abbreviation for something else, great. I have been looking this up. I have no idea. So,
what is Yabu? Is it's a gallon? He wants a gallon of
he
it?
wants a gallon of it. It's some sort of liquid. It has to be if he wants a gallon. But like, I've looked it up and just no clue. This may be a term that's just vanished, an old abbreviated term. So,
I can't even think of what YABU something would stand for. All right. Well, this is a mystery. Hopefully, we'll be able to figure this out.
Yep.
But he's excited to see her.
That's right.
And I was right about July. So, like, then it was like a whole month in between.
Yeah.
Oh,
kept going. Yep. Back to Puerto La Cruz. So they just keep going back to South America, doing that cruise. But he says, we're going to get back to Philly on the 14th. It's like, that's it. Then I'm done. Which, if we check our timelines, we were talking about this earlier. He left Iowa early December of 48, which means he's been doing merchant marine work for 7 months at this point. Yeah.
Well, I hope he's been making some decent money.
Yep. And that's what they're hoping. So he thinks, okay, I'm going to get into the port at Philadelphia on July 14th. Wouldn't you know, Jamie? Sweetie writes her first piece of correspondence from this time period a day later, on July 15th.
July 15th, 1949. Dear Jean, in my haste, I forgot to say that while dressing in a hurry, I ripped my girdle as you did. Florence and R and K.M. were there, but we had so little time I could hardly do more than say hello. F is thin, K.M. is tall and seemed almost skinny, and R, aside from saying hello Louis in a big boy way and wearing boy clothes, seems little different from a baby. He does look so sweet. Frank met me at LaSalle Station, and we walked to Union Station to exercise and gawk. He bought us ice cream and also popcorn and sandwiches to eat on the train. That was our supper, saved another meal in the diner at high prices. He enjoyed the pencils and papers and stood the trip well asleep in the seat, while I curved around him and tried to. We arrived on schedule at 7:49, met by Elizabeth and Bobby and Mom, came out to get breakfast on chance, called to find out when Lou's ship would dock, to be told it had docked at 8 a.m., so he arrived a very few minutes after we did. The 2-day delay was okay after all. I do appreciate the letter and the one that arrived this p.m. I wish I were what I know you are. Love, Sweetie. Louis is quite at home with Dad. He recognizes home.
So, wow. So she got to see Florence.
She did.
And we know that she's really been trying to maintain contact and a relationship with Florence, given that Bob is now gone.
Yeah.
And she did get to see Florence and Bob's children. Of course, she did have to comment on how Florence is thin.
Yep. She's comparing.
But she did get to see them, so that's nice. And get to see his little one, whom she, didn't get to see since he was a baby.
Yeah.
And then Frank is still, so she must have gone to Chicago.
She did. So LaSalle Station, Union Station, Frank's in Chicago. So he's helping with arrangements there. She's traveling through. The last we heard about Florence was that she was in Iowa City. So in Iowa City is the old original capital of Iowa. So if you go back into the old maps of Iowa, there's an excellent map. I don't have it, and I'm thinking about it. It's from like the 1830s. But imagine the state of Iowa, which I think people can see now, especially if you've been listening to the podcast, is like this rectangle, and we know Des Moines in the center. In like the early 1800s, it was like half of that size. And so if you imagine like cutting Iowa in half and just focus on the eastern half of the state, and then picking a spot in the middle, that's Iowa City.
Oh.
So then they expand westward to where now the border with Nebraska is, the Missouri River border. So they had to move the capital because it was like in the eastern half. So they were just like, whoop, and they moved it into the center. So Iowa City, big college town, but there's the original Capitol building there. We passed through it when my dad and I traveled. That's where Florence has been. Florence's family has been out that way. So what I suspect her route is she was with Jean in Des Moines. She always would have done that. And then as an excuse to see some of the family right before she left, I think she headed from Des Moines to Iowa City this time. And then Iowa City being a major location, headed up to Chicago to meet Frank at LaSalle Station, probably on a more local line, to switch over to Union Station. We were there.
We were there.
Big one, right? To take the train to Philadelphia.
It's very nice when we read these things and we talked about Union Station. I'm like, I know where that is because I was there with Allison. So it was very fun. It was cool to read this. But it was very nice that she got to see, she worked in some family time during her trip.
Yeah.
And then we also learned that, she was met by Elizabeth and Bob and Sydney when she got there, and that her and Lou came in at around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's also kind of
worked out.
Yeah, they just came in at the same time. And this was concerning to me that Lewis wouldn't recognize his dad because he hasn't seen him for a long time.
For a year.
But
his dad also looked different. Did he still have the mustache and beard? Like, so did he see his father in a different way? Did Lou save the mustache and beard to show, because he mentioned early in like the Merchant Marine letters, I'm gonna look like Abe Lincoln when I see you. We don't know. Ooh. But I like to imagine that he just like right before like shaving everything off was like, hey, I'm the sailor man. And then
he probably did.
Yeah, he probably did. So
they are all reunited now, and she is back on the East Coast.
That's right.
Yeah. But we still have more letters.
We do.
So now that we've had this reunion, we still have a few more pieces of correspondence.
July 18th, 1949. Dear Jean, I hope you remembered the flowers for Mama for her night as the highest potentate. Saturday, we went to get my stuff checked through, and I gave Lou his something. It had gotten built up into something big, and I'm afraid Lou was somewhat let down when he found out what it was. I still congratulate myself just to have completed all 3 of them. The neck is fine just as it is, so I need only to hide that little end. He was pleased, I think, that I had lost weight, but Lou doesn't say much about that anyway, except that I was too fat.
All right, let's pause here for a moment. A couple terms. Yeah, before we move forward with this, amazingly with this postcard, that I think we barely ever break up a postcard, but we've got a couple terms here. The first confusing one is the highest potentate. I can only suspect what this is, and what I strongly suspect this is I think Laura was a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, which is kind of like a Masonic equivalent. It's in that kind of vein of like the Shriners or the Masons. That a lot of women were involved with, especially in the 40s. I know for certain that my mother's mother was Order of the Eastern Star. I have her documents from that. I'm pretty sure Laura was too. And this is, the potentate is like the highest ranking person of an organization that'll like chair things. So I would imagine that if she's in this type of an organization, even if it's not that one specifically, that she was having some sort of like big like social gathering official night that she was going to, and that was a really, really big deal. Then can we just comment on Lou?
Well, we find out that she was working on something for him. And this seems like a very different tone from like his, because they had just seen each other. This is July 18th.
Yeah.
They got back together on July like 15th.
Yep.
So I guess all the gushy, lovey, I miss you stuff, like he was done. I don't know. But let's not forget that Miss Sweetie has an inferiority complex.
Yes.
So she probably was expecting something a little different, and that's not exactly what happened. Also, he probably doesn't think, when it comes to the weight, he probably doesn't care as much as she does.
No, she's comparing herself to Florence in the previous note. That's the problem.
I know. She thinks about it a lot more, and she probably was thinking about it a lot more because she was going to see him.
Yeah.
So, and also I think she was expecting. See, she just I hate when she gets like this. She just is so down on herself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that he didn't react exactly the way she wanted, so she's spinning it a little bit but also, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't being as sweet as he had been in his letters.
Yeah. He set himself up really, like, a really high bar for his romance scene. Like, with all of the stuff. Eternity was mentioned many times. Like, all of these things. That's a really high bar.
Yes, this is definitely a different tone from his letters.
Yep.
We went Sunday and bought a dinette set and living room furniture through the ads, and today we went up to Willow Grove and surrounding territory to look for a house. There are none to rent. Scads for sale at terrific prices that have me cold. We'll have to look and look hard now if we're going to get settled soon. I wrote the folks tonight, so thought I'd make a card do, as it is time for bed for Louis, and Lou is tired too. Let me hear from you, and keep track of the folks for me. Love, Sweetie.
That was a postcard, right?
Yeah, that second portion, though, there's some important stuff to mention here. One is, Lou had made it seem like there was already a residence figured out. That is clearly not the case as of this postcard. Nothing to rent. Not near Willow Grove. And we've talked about Willow Grove before, a little briefly. That's the Naval Air Station, Willow Grove. This is around Horsham, Pennsylvania. This was a really, really major base. We're going to talk a lot in future episodes about Willow Grove, so I'm not going to get into it here. But just know that it's in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, Montco. And to all the Montco listeners, I'd like to remind you that Montgomery County is not one of the original counties of Pennsylvania. You were carved out of other existing ones. So, burn. Anyway, but, yes, you used to be property of Bucks, if I recall correctly, between us and Upland, which is modern-day Chester. So, haha.
Wow. So what you're saying is that Montgomery County is like leftovers?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, it's seconds.
I've just offended all of the Montgomery County listeners. Look up your history, okay? Deal with reality. Yeah, but that's where they're headed. Now, that's important because they're looking around the base up there, but they're not looking around Norwood, which was in Delaware County, Delco. Not looking in Collingdale, not looking around Sydney. We don't know where Elizabeth is right now, but it's not mentioned that they're looking around where Elizabeth is. They're focusing on the Willow Grove area. So, and then she uses the term scads, which is really great. You don't see that used in writing. Scad is just like a large number of things. You know, it's like random.
I feel like
number.
We had another word. Did we have another word
did.
that was like that?
Yeah, there was an earlier term like this. Sometimes she just throws really excellent vocabulary that's very much not in use these days. That's one of them. I'm like, is this slang for something? No, it literally means like there's a huge amount of something. So there's a lot of amount of properties that she's talking about. So that's where that is. So that adds to the drama. Now, because they don't have a place, and she's saying we're shopping for things, where are you going to put those things, sweetie, when you go shopping? You better figure out a place soon. Because until then, they're at Collingdale. And here we go.
They're at Collingdale with just Sydney. Elizabeth is gone now.
Right. She's moved out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's different. So that would be different. But I think he probably also has the same sense of urgency that she does when it comes to finding their own place.
Oh, yeah.
They've had that taste of it. They've had that taste of freedom. And then when you come back and they're like, no, I don't like this.
We're not doing this as soon as quick. Yeah.
And it looks to me like they are like, so they're looking around Willow Grove. This is interesting. So, but moving on from this postcard to our next postcard, we're going to hear from somebody who we haven't heard from in a long time.
Oh, yeah, not for a while. So here we go.
July 22nd, 1949. Thursday afternoon. Dear Jean, have picked and canned, made some juice, have 70 quarts. Feeling fine. Had a letter from Sweetie. My, how we miss them. If you haven't sent the pertussis, do so. Papa forgot his penicillin, and we had to go back a few blocks to get it. Sorry I didn't call you, but we had to hurry to keep ahead of the storm. We had our hardest rain on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. Got out to the farm okay. This morning, rain was good for everything. Love, Mama.
So from Miss Laura,
Mm-hmm.
we get, I think, a more typical example of what the correspondence would be in that time period.
Yeah.
Not these giant letters that we get from Sweetie, but
Mm-hmm.
just basic
Yeah.
information being passed back and forth.
Yeah.
I am always in awe in how much she cans.
70 quarts.
She's like, I got this.
It's good. It's fine. I don't see Chester helped. Mr.
Oh, I'm sure he did not.
What
I'm
were
sure.
you
Well,
doing
he
this?
forgot his penicillin. The
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. We have to remember Laura's also an RN. You know, she aids in Chester. So she's cleaning up. Oh, he forgot this. Jean, do you have that? In the meantime, I'm gonna can 70 quarts. We also miss Sweetie. It's, you know, it's a nice little note that just expresses like they wish she was home, but they get it. Yeah.
They get it.
Laura's very practical and a realist. So I like being able to hear from her and get like her little perspective every time that we were able to. So that one was left as part of it. But a day later, we're going to get another letter from Sweetie here as she's going to tell us how things are progressing. Now, about a week later, since everybody's been back to the East Coast.
936 Springfield Road, July 23rd, 1949. Dear Jean, we've spent nearly every day looking for a house and furniture. As you know, it is a 30-mile drive at least to Willow Grove and surrounding community. So far, all our efforts to rent are a complete loss. We did find one apartment, still in the process of building, of 2 bedrooms upstairs and 2 rooms downstairs, to rent for $15 per month, which of course is too much for too little, and we turned it down. It seems now that the only thing we can do is to buy a place. I know that sounds like a very offhand manner when it comes to something so important, but let me point it out to you this way. We've found a house we'd like to have. It is way out, kinda like Sisters by comparison with the other congested areas. It is a little larger than the house in Norwood, but the plan is the same. It has an unfinished upstairs that could eventually be made into 2 bedrooms and another bathroom. It is very well built, is well insulated, 4-inch rock wool on the ceilings, 3/4-inch Celotex boarding in the walk. There's a 3-burner electric stove installed, 80-gallon electric water heater, oil heat, and air conditioner in the cellar, and a full-sized finished cellar, hardwood floors, and a big unattached garage with overhead door, insulated with a concrete block foundation and cement flooring. Here's a beautiful point, too. It is on a half-acre of ground. The frontage is 100 feet. Frank's is 60. The depth is 220 feet. Frank's is 120. That means lots of room for Lewis to play, a big garden, no traffic, though it is on a macadam road. There is another house, identical on the other half-acre, but aside from that, we're quite alone. We're about a mile outside Hatboro, and about 3/4 of a mile from the base for Lou. There's a school bus that stops at the door and delivers Lewis, and we're about a mile from church. For what I've always wanted and hoped for, it is ideal. Outside the city, secluded, no traffic, moderate to low, that is. It is priced too high, at $10,500. I know that is too much to pay, but on the other hand, what can we do? We have to have a place to live. We can get a GI loan, and that amounts to $10,000. We'd have to have the remaining $500, plus settlement costs of $250. Then monthly payments, including taxes, insurance, etc., would amount to $58.95 or $59. That is cheaper than we could rent, even an apartment. Here's another way to look at it. We paid $43 per month in Norwood. Gas bills, $30. For Lou to drive daily to Willow Grove, $73 made our rent, and gas amounts to $73. He'll have practically no gas bill to pay, and we'll still be roughly $10 to the goal. Row houses are selling from $9,500 up, as high as anyone wants to go, and you know what a row house is. If we could rent close to Willow Grove, I'd say not to buy, but it takes all of 6 months to get into Lacey Park. A row house housing project, that would be terrible, I think. You know our financial circumstances. with furniture to buy, etc. We're asking again to borrow from you. I hate to do it. Vowed once I never would again, but now decide I'll have to swallow my pride and eat old crow. I'd rather borrow it from you if at all possible. I know the circumstances you face too, so I guess it is best to ask you how much you can loan us and wait to hear from you. This time, though, we'll put it on a more systematic business-like basis, a note with interest, a payback plan, or whatever suits you best. Of course, I shall tell the folks also about borrowing money from you. If it all pans out, we do get the house, etc., I'm going to try and get a welfare baby to care for. At $10 above board, I could apply that to the house every month.
Yeah.
So clearly what they have done is search to see, and they're renting a house was one of the first things that they were thinking about.
Yeah.
But they've gotten to that point where it's like, well, now we have to buy.
Yeah.
And when you're buying a house, this is so fun. I love those house buying shows, you know.
Yeah.
You have to have those qualities of a house that you are like, I cannot compromise on. You know, these are the things that you need. And it sounds to me like she's like, the things that I want.
It has.
The things that I want are all in this house.
Yeah.
And it's perfect, but it's too much. And that is usually the case when you're buying a house. You plan a budget and then you always go over. Well, I do anyway. So, but they don't have the money.
No.
And they have to, and she has to borrow again. And Jean has given her a lot of money because Jean's single. Jean has a decent job and has, you know, some of that income. But it sounds to me like she would rather do anything else.
Yep. Yeah. They're close.
Sad.
They're really close. I mean, with a house at $10,500 and the GI loan for $10,000, they're like, if you're that close to it, she says, I'll swallow my pride. You know, we have to figure this out. We have to figure this out. And she knows Jean will come through for her. She's going to prefer not to have to ask her parents. If she can only go through Jean, she'd like to, but this is going to come up in some of the future content that we have as we wait to see what's going to happen with this house. She's looking for a lot of things. She wants the bigger property. She wants a yard. She wants to have her garden. She wants a yard for Lewis to be able to run around in. And it's nice because it's in a great secluded area. I'm just going to leave that for some future content. Let's just say things change over time. But it's in a nice secluded area.
It's a nice secluded area, and it's very close to Willow Grove.
Yeah.
And church, which she's been wanting to go back to.
Yep.
And she even talks about this. This is, for me, I was like, what is this? And she says, I'm going to try to get a welfare baby.
Yeah.
So this was actually something I thought, well, this is like a foster care thing.
Yeah. This is some sort of foster situation. She has experience babysitting. She's got a strong household. So it makes sense. It's something she's considering. And there was a system in place in which women could apply to basically foster and then get a certain amount from the government. She's saying that could make up the difference in making everything work towards getting this house. So,
and you know, this is an interesting, you know, now that I'm just thinking about this more, this was some ways that women could get money without getting a job. Without having a job that they were required to go to, like 9 to 5, you know. We discussed other things that women had done in this time period. You know, she was tatting for a while and discussing, like, maybe I'll sell my tatting. She was babysitting for the neighbors, and that's how she was able to get some extra money. And I know that she also was, like, getting some kind of pension from when she...
Yeah, the allotments,
The allotments. So she's trying to do what she can, you know, without having to go get a job. Which there would be absolutely no way that she would ever be able to do that. She has, you know, she's got Lewis. So yeah, it's, you know, she's trying to contribute, and I do really appreciate how she does this.
Yeah.
She's a resourceful young woman.
Yep. She's looking at all of her options and saying, here's the best course. I love in the, like, one of the earlier parts of this letter when she's listing out the cost, notice that I think she said it's either $58.95 or $59. The difference in amounts being noted here is 5 cents. To us today, that'd be like, we wouldn't even mention a difference. She's very precise. They've worked this out to the penny of how this might work. So, yeah.
We're trying to buy furniture, too. We've had some good buys, not as good as we had the first time. We've bought a few nicer pieces, but think we're still better off in the long run to have sold ours off. I'll go into prices and descriptions later. No refrigerator to compare to ours. We've gone out every day to see about houses and furniture, so I haven't done a very good job of writing, but aside from your fan letter, I haven't had a word from home. I can't help but worry about Mama and Papa, especially when I haven't heard from them. I keep saying everything's okay, or Jean would let me know as she promised to do. I hope you'll write right away to let me know if they are both well, and not working too awful hard, though I know they are. Let me hear about the money, too, and I'll write again about it. I'd like to hear your opinion, too, if you aren't making like the Sphinx. I miss you and the folks so much, and wish we could talk. My bangs aren't very curly, but I think it looks good, and I've had several comments on my loss of weight, not all good, but comments anyway. My temper requires Dexy to make things more serene. How's your Richard? What does Cliffy have to say? Is Aileen gone? Right. Love, Sweetie.
Yep.
That was a very cliffhangery way to end that letter.
Mm-hmm.
So many questions.
Yep.
But, ooh.
Jean, stop making like the Sphinx. What she's saying here is don't be a mystery. Don't be riddles. I need direct information about this. And then she does mention one other thing, and this is back to her inferiority complex. She talks about the Dexy. Dexy is going to be mentioned in a number of letters that are coming up. This is the unfortunate reality of some of the very high power medications in the 1940s that were a lot less regulated than they are today. That basically post-war, women are being especially advertised to say this is in relation to like weight loss or for solving things. It's just like Sweetie runs to sulfa. We start to hear about Dexy, which is Dexedrine, starts to come in. Heavily regulated today. It's not like it was in the 40s, but that portion, we're going to hear this referenced in a number of upcoming letters. She's looking for the solution to try to take care of her woes. And we'll see how long she decides to look towards like a medical route. But again, she's overthinking it. We've seen photos, we've seen everything. It's her inferiority complex. And it's driving her to go for medication first, as opposed to like other things, which she's got this habit of doing just in general. And it's that post-war scene. So if you've ever seen like the old 40s ads to the women about like, oh, you can solve this with this. This is in that realm. So, and again,
this occurred after the war. Then there was this big push.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the pharmaceutical industry and like their marketing for like quick fixes for things, I think this is where we really start to see the beginnings of that with all of that. Like it's certainly been around a little bit, but that insta drug idea that this can just solve everything, there's going to be side effects that of course come up for these things. So, and that's always the case. Like it's almost too good to be true kind of things that are happening. But yeah, disclaimer, remember everybody, medicine from the 40s stays in the 40s, talk to your doctor. But like, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you got that. I actually think that this might be a great bonus episode.
Yeah.
To discuss the marketing of medications and how that began in the 40s, and like to like maybe perhaps even delve more personally or more in depth with the weight loss and the things that she's mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good episode. I think maybe we should try that.
Yeah.
And like bring that up when we hear more about these in the letters. But that was our last letter for today.
It was, yeah.
Our last letter for today. But so Sweetie's back in Collindale, and Lou is with her.
They're back together.
And they're back together. And that's where we leave it for today.
Yep. We don't know if she's going to get this house, but we'll continue that story next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Love Sweetie podcast on YouTube. Check out our website. Thank you to our listeners on the audio platform. I haven't forgotten about everybody here. I just wanted to mention it. And everybody, we'll see you next week.